So educate. Then why don't you drink water? And to answer this question, or to give you some ideas about this question, I turned to two studies which we have done together with some colleagues, which have been in Poland with children or in adult women. And these are both published, so you can follow up on the research itself. As we have a session tomorrow on children, I'm going to focus this year on the results of children. So it's a study being held which was done in Poland with 3 to 6 year olds and a sample size of around 300 children. And we specifically selected children who had unhealthy drinking habits, meaning they had a very low intake of water, so less than 1 glass a day, and a rather high intake of sweet drinks. Sweet drinks being all the different types of beverages which contain sugar or a sweet taste. So this was the protocol, which was rather a complex protocol, but I'll guide you through it. So we have the total sample at baseline, which was in the spring of 2012, where we randomly allocated them into 3 different groups. One being control group, no intervention at all. One group receiving information, being a 3-week web coaching where they had education about how much should they drink, what are the impacts of fluid intake, what different type of beverages. And then a third group who received, besides the web coaching, also water delivery. So they had water available. Then to make it, we did a second wave and a third measurements. Then they went into the summer. And as these were children, we were losing contact with them during the summer. So we had also the intention to measure, like, what if we use social media at the same time? So to make the design a little bit more complex, we split it up, the groups 2 and 3, into 2 different groups, where one group received no additional intervention, and the other group was exposed to a web forum where parents could exchange on the topic of fluid intake, and they could drink. So the effect of social media. Then we measured again when they came back to school in the autumn, twice, and then 1 year back, so we had a follow-up of a full year in the springtime at the same time. To also take into account seasonality, we measured again what the children were drinking. And I'll show you the results of what they were drinking later on. But I want to focus mainly on the barriers they were mentioning, because this was the question we could anticipate in our daily practice. Why does your child doesn't drink more? So the question we raised to the parents was, what are the reasons why your child does not drink more plain water on a daily basis? And an answer that came most frequently was, he or she doesn't think about it. They just forget, or they're not used to it. Meaning basically that we have to create the habit of drinking water. It's a habit that we can install. And on top you have to involve the environment to help the children remember. So some tips could be, indeed, start your day with a glass of water, or I drink each time I go to the bathroom, or when I come back. Every time that I have a glass, I also serve my child a glass of water. And when my child sets the table, I already ask the child to fill out the glasses in advance before the people take place at the table. So these were actually a practical tip that came from the parent itself. So we saw that people started to be very creative in supporting their child to drink more water. Now you may ask the question, did it really work? So we checked. At every wave, so every measurement, we asked, how strong do you agree with this sentence? He or she is not used to drinking. So as you can see in the beginning, whatever the intervention group, quite a lot of people, a high proportion of the sample said, like, I strongly agree, I rather disagree. And as along the time goes, you can see here that the proportion of people who were disagreeing or saying, he's now starting to be used to it. The habit grew on them. So it became more a habit. And this we see also in the diaries. So what the children and the parents were reporting was indeed reflecting this. We can see that it became a habit. This is a control group. where we indeed see also an increase in water. We have several explanations for it. One, everybody in the study knew they were participating in intervention, so automatically, most of the time, people modify their behavior. The children grew older as well. And it's all possible interventions. Moreover, we had no control on external factors. Probably there were also campaigns going on or messages. So there are a lot of factors that could also create this bias. But we clearly see that the intervention groups had a much stronger increase than the control group. So the intervention that received web coaching only increased for up to 5 times, whereas the ones who received web coaching, water availability, and the forum had the strongest increase in their water intake. So these were the first barriers that came up. What else did parents report? They said, she or he doesn't realize how much or she should drink. There, my tip would be, again, educate them, but also use urine color. As we already saw this morning, we now have the color chart. Children love to talk about color and pee-pee. So it's really something that talks to them. So if you use the urine color chart, for sure the children will like it. Another barrier that came up, he or she prefers sugared beverages. Difficult one to address indeed. But then one of the tips could be, make water fun and tasty. And again, it's a habit that needs to be installed. And here are some tips. It can even also be, make them to have their own bottle. Make it's theirs, it's personal, it's fun. And we do indeed see, and these were initiatives that came out of a school, where the children were personalizing their bottle and they were also having the time to go and fill up their cup. What about this sweet preference? Did we see it change? And indeed, it's a habit that can be learned, water, but we also see that the preference for water can be learned, which is very encouraging us to keep on doing efforts, because it's the same type of question. So in every measure, every wave, we had a measurement, and in the beginning, a high proportion strongly agreed that their child preferred sugar-sweetened beverages. But again, we've seen as time goes by, in whatever intervention group, we see that more and more parents rated that, I disagree, my child now also asks for water. So again, it's very encouraging us that we should keep trying to do efforts to push children to drink water instead of sweet beverages. And again, we also saw it in the diaries. So it's another confirmation. What did we see over time is that indeed the proportion of total fluid intake coming from sweet beverages decreased, and especially the ones from fruit non-carbonated drinks. You also see here that water with syrup, we had compote, we are all sweet beverages. So in Poland, there's a high intake of sweet beverages. So why don't you drink water? So try to understand what are the barriers of the individual in front of you. What makes that this person doesn't drink more water? And try to be as creative as you can, together with the participant, with the individual that you have in front of you, to find a solution.